Welcome to the Southeast Elite Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jonathan Castaneda, our co-host, Rob Campman, and today's guest, Albert Settles. We'll get into that.
Mr. Settles, man. My guy, man.
We're going to get into a whole lot with Coach Albert in a second here, but quickly wanted to talk about our why we're doing this podcast and, the reasons behind, why this is so important to us. The first thing being, we've done this for a while. We've done this unsponsored, sponsored, just been at it. All of us each at the high school level, a lot of our coaches at the high school level. And we really came to the point where we feel there's information out there that people deserve to have. I think, and we feel there's a lot more conversation about the things that are wrong with AAU basketball, travel ball, high school ball. A lot of the negatives get brought to light because those are the viral, cool clips and the things, the craziness people like to see. And we wanted to bring something different to the table. We wanted to bring something informative, just talk about us. I don't know how many sound bites or hot takes or clickbait, we're really going to have. And this is not for that. This is meant for us to just talk about how we do things, not really talk about others and how, they may do it different or anything negative about them. It just really is from our experience, our point of view. And, I think it's something positive that we can share. And if there are programs and coaches out there that this can help, then, players, parents, families, then it serves its purpose. And that's really why we wanted to do this. Next, we would like to thank everyone that has contributed to Southeast Elite over this past decade plus. I'd like to start with our founders, Anthony Ricks, Chauncey Owens, and Marcus Merricks.
Big three, man.
The big three. Those are three guys, high school best friends, teammates at Oak Ridge High School who, upon graduating and entering in college, they really came up with something to impact the Orlando community. It's been triple threat, Southeast Elite, CP25, Southeast Elite. Now our Adidas sponsor is Austin Rivers. And, everyone who's been a part of this entire journey, we really would like to thank. It's too much, to name right now. But from the people who, do our workouts, from our coaches, from the youth level up, to the people who work our score clocks, which a lot of times is the family members of our players and people who work the door, a concession stand, this and that. Like all of it is important. We don't take for granted anyone who's spent a second, pouring into this program. And so, we'd like to thank the big three for starting this up and, allowing us to jump on and push it forward. And so thank you guys. All right. Sponsorship opportunities.
Cut the check.
Yeah, right. As this podcast progresses, we would like to promote the area, businesses throughout the state. And luckily, the Transcend Podcast Studio, big thank you to Byron Johnson for his vision for this studio. It was a big reason as to why we selected this studio to be a part of. He's doing a lot. Not just in the Tampa area, throughout the entire state. And he has a vision, a passion for basketball, and we're behind him. And he's allowed us to use his space. So, first and foremost, want to thank Byron for that.
Thank you.
And he's actually been talking to us about, sponsorship opportunities and how that can go about. And so, briefly just want to mention there are various avenues to sponsoring this podcast. Intro, segments, outros, product placement. We're kind of open to any ideas of businesses that want to collaborate and be with us and have products on the table as long as they're in accordance with, our values and nothing too crazy.
That's sketchy.
Yeah, I know. We're here for the families but we'd also like to impact as many people as we can. So if it's Orlando businesses, if it's Tampa, Miami, Jacksonville, we'd like to have you guys reach out and ask us, if there's an opportunity for you guys to be a part of this, and we would love to do that. Now that is out of the way, we would like to introduce our first guest on this podcast ever, being Coach AB, Albert Settles, head coach of Central Florida Christian Academy, and this past season, our 16U 3SSB coach. They won the championship at the Adidas finale in Rock Hill. And, we want to get into kind of what that was like. Albert's been with us for a long time, has seen all different levels of our program. And, no one really is as deserving of sitting here. And, we have very, very many deserving coaches, but he's done, the job from being the top guy to the janitor and no complaints in between. And, I'm very, very happy to see him in the place he's in right now, man, and deserves it. And so I want to get into a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, I appreciate you guys having me. This is family. When you asked me to do this is a no-brainer. Just speak about our brand, speak about, past experiences I had. So, this is easy for me. So I'm, blessed to be here, blessed to be part of the organization. So thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate it.
So what was Rock Hill like for you, man?
Yeah,
let's get right into it, man. What was Rock Hill like for you, man?
Filled with a lot of mixed emotions. I'm gonna get into the week, but coaching this group, coaching our group of guys was nothing but special. Going into Rock Hill, be honest, we were losing our 7-footer Sanan. So going into the week, we were going with a completely different team.
Yep.
Different makeup, different group, first time really not having our big. And I will say our boys, they just responded well, from changing the way we played a little bit faster, changing our defensive concepts, but ultimately just their buy-in and trust was something that I couldn't even imagine, going into that 2-week period. But Rock Hill was special, going into it. We lost our first 2 games, 2 showcase games. First one we played against Compton Magic. We were up, I want to say 15, in the second half and then losing that game. And then the next game we played BABC, full of junk house dogs. And they end up whooping us, right? So we go into it 0-2, and now we're getting into bracket play. And I remember, Marte Barnes pulling me to the side after we had just lost to BABC and saying, hey, Coach AB, we got you. And from right then and there, that was reassuring, because, Marte is one of our, bigger leaders.
Right. Yep.
So for him to say that in that moment, we're going through adversity, he gave me all kind of this reassurance that this group, was different, was special. And when we go through adversity, we're a family. And so we're going to pick each other up.
Yep.
And so moving into that first round game, I forget who we played. I want to say we played a team from South Carolina, Upward Stars.
Yeah.
Upward Stars. So, we played really, really well that game. Kind of like a come-out game, I want to say. We ended up winning like 15, 16 points. And I want to say that was a game where, each and every guy really just kind of produced, did something, to impact winning. And from there, I felt like our momentum was really, really starting to, hit the ground running. After that, we played the Jalen Green Elite.
Yep.
Really, really well-coached team. Just found a way to win. Our guys, throughout the session, we just found ways to win, winning plays. It didn't matter, whether a guy's scoring 20 points. We just wanted to win. And I just, throughout that week, I was just harping to the guys, you guys will get whatever you guys want if we can showcase how to play winning basketball, playing for each other, playing as a team. And so it was evident if you were watching our team, that this team is different. Yeah. It's something special about this group. And each and every game, it could have been Marte, going off. It could have been Joe Hartman going off. It could have been Nate Kirk. And even Chris, right? But it didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was us winning. After the Jalen Green game, we played D1 Minnesota, a team where
always tough.
A team where listen, a team where
always
if you don't,
tough, man.
If you're not locked in defensively, they will make you pay.
Yeah.
They probably ran 1,000 different actions. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but that just goes to show, the type of, quality of teams that you get to play in the Adidas 3SSB circuit.
Yeah.
So we ended up beating them by 12 or 13 points. And that victory in itself just gave us a lot of confidence, because I want to believe D1 Minnesota probably lost 2 to 3 games throughout the spring and summer sessions. And so that was a really, really major test for us. And then the next game, we played Team Loaded VA. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about Team Loaded VA,
always tough.
They're very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough, very skilled.
Dogs.
had a bunch of dogs, but, you know, ultimately they had what we called the golden child, you know, the Adidas golden child, Adam, which he is very, very good player. But our guys, you know, play with a chip on our shoulder that game. You know, it was a Final Four game, you know, a game where, you know, everyone thought we were going to lose that game, you know, going into it. Hard fought battle game, but we, you know, ultimately, you know, it was a game where we had to make winning plays down the stretch. And I can't remember exactly this play, this, that, and the third. All I remember was, you know, our guys buying in, locking in, you know, defensively knowing our assignments, finding a way to win, you know, which was really, really special going into that. You know, once again, we started off 0-2, right? And now we were knocking off teams one by one. Before you know, we're in the championship game. Right. Before you know, we're in the championship game. So I'm, you know, as a coach.
You had 7 dudes.
We had 7 dudes.
So, well, let's talk about that. Who were the 7?
Yeah.
Let's start with it.
So I'm going to start with Marte Barnes. Joe Hartman, Nathan Kirk. Chris. We had Maddox. We had DJ Sandy. And then we had Isaac, which
Buckley,
Isaac Buckley, you know, which I want to talk a little bit about each guy individually, but that's those 7 guys. Just looking back at it, those are 7 guys that laid their ego to the side, you know, and really became, you know, one, you know, and especially in this day and age, you know, for you to, you know, be selfless, you know, and really try to go for a common goal, man. That was something that I'm always going to cherish, you know, and I'm always going to bring that group up, you know, whenever I coach different teams, just about the makeup of this group, how much they really truly loved one another, you know, and it showed on the court, you know, how hard they played for each other.
And the funniest thing about that group, right, and just like as you're talking, is like the group was together for about a week. So when you can build you know, we talk about chemistry, coaching high school, you talk about taking time, build chemistry. Hey, come on, let's lock in, let's get together, play for each other. And you're teaching that a lot at the high school level for months to get to where you're in January ready to really get rolling. To see a team like that come together within about a week or 2 weeks, face adversity. You know, I always say a lot of times you got to lose to win. So those losses probably set you up. I think if you win those 2, maybe you don't, you know, get the culmination. But I thought it was amazing just to watch because it was like, you know, but you had guys that were really just, a lot of them just excited to be there and ready to do whatever it takes. You know, I you know, obviously Marte, Nate, Joe, you know, kind of the 3 guys that kind of had led that group. We lose
returners.
We lose a big guy like Sanan, you know, from spring to. What adjustments did you have to make?
You know, I'm be honest, I had to make adjustments in real time, you know, because you don't really know, you know, how you're going to play, how they, you know, adjust to your system, you know, on air, really, you know, because when we practice, a lot of times we'll do some scrimmages here and there, but you don't really know what's going to work, what's not in real time. So I'll say after our second game, you know, once again, going back to Rock Hill, you know, for one, we had to play a little bit faster than we were normally playing. You know, normally when we had our 7-footer, we could play at a pace that was more comfortable for our liking. But once we realized, man, we had to play a little bit faster defensively. We could switch screens, you know, but we had to, you know, play a little bit more pressure, you know, and use our strengths to our advantage. And so you don't really know, you know, what you're going to be really, really good at and until you're actually, you know, hit in real time. You know, you kind of going through the fire, what works, what doesn't. You know, figuring out the new guys. You know, it was my first week coaching Maddox, Isaac, DJ. So,
let me talk about something like about that real quick because you know I know listeners are going to hear that and be like, "Well, they're an Adidas sponsored AAU program. Thank you, Adidas. Thank you, SSB. You know, big shout out Austin Rivers, our sponsor. You know, I think for listeners hearing like, well, they have this team, and why were they in a situation to basically have to come up with, you know, a new squad per se, you know, a core, and then, you know, find some pieces and move some pieces up from our other teams that we have, you know, and then you end up with 7 in July in Rock Hill. Yeah. I think that could be confusing, but I've always said this, it's, you know, and we'll get into that a little later, is the reasons that we are so hell-bent on being involved and getting our hands dirty in this game is because we see how things like that happen all the time, right? It is the nature of the beast. And we could try to do everything as earnestly as we can and as transparent as we can. And, you know, there are so many families involved and people have the right to make their own decisions, right? And so we're trying to do the best for each one individually. And at this level, you know, 3SSB, everybody who is there as an individual is there because of the resume and the things they have done. Right. So everyone comes in with a, you know, this is what I'm trying to get out of it kind of thing. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it does not, right? So you get to July and we add Maddox.
Maddox, who's from Atlanta, Georgia.
DJ Sandy.
CK, Chris Katang.
He was with
you guys.
He was with us.
And Isaac.
Isaac was with our Southeast Elite Blue
Gold
group,
yep.
and then you know, moved up.
So let me kind of touch on that, right? Because we talk about movement, and you know, I think the biggest thing that a lot of, you know, people that aren't involved in it don't see is, you know, the conversation that we have with families and players on the back end, and there's an understanding of what the players and families want out of it, as well as, hey, this is what the organization does. And this is how, you know, we expect you to, you know, whether it's you're being coached by Coach AB, you're being coached by me, you're being coached by Ricks, or whoever's coaching you, no matter what the group is. You know, I think that one of the greatest things about this organization is, you know, we the misconception at AAU is, hey, we just put 5 good players out there. You just run them out there and just go hoop, right? That's the biggest misconception. Right. But then you sit here and talk to Coach AB and you hear his thought process. Man, I had to switch schemes. I had to switch systems. We had to, you know, we're watching film. We're coming up with game plans and scout. Not a lot of people are doing that at the AAU level. Not even at the highest circuit level. Not a lot of people are putting that kind of high school or college type coaching time and effort into preparing your kids, right, for success. And I think that's the biggest difference with a lot of what we do. Is we do try to still, because that prepares them for the next level, right? Being able to execute a game plan, being able to, hey man, today we're gonna play fast. Hey, tomorrow we might play slow. You know, today we're gonna press a lot. Tomorrow we might not. Today we might switch all screens. Today we can't. You know what I'm saying? So like being able to make those adjustments and teach them how to execute that helps these kids tremendously. And, you know, going from spring to, you know, you've been around, you know, definitely longer than me. I think you've been around longer than me as well with the organization. But what I've noticed is, listen, man, spring and to summer is 2 halves of a season. You know, people got to make decisions.
They have to make decisions, and we're not above. You know, we're not above people choosing something else other than us. You know, and that's what I would like to say about our program is the way that you manage that, or your contingency plan, is having a coach that can take on that kind of movement, and the culture being so strong within your program. That coach holding the standard of your program and themselves, right? Because AB didn't walk into our program and become an amazing person, right?
No, not at all.
It's the background, and it's the high school, you know, coaches and the people who have accountability to their area and stuff that they, you know, you become a family, you kind of become one, you really realize what the standards are, and then they implement it on a change like that. And so do you feel, you know, kind of leading you to an alley-oop right now. Do you feel like the standards that you've set, especially having a core group at 16U and returning, made it easy for those guys to step in and kind of like, oh, we're all gonna succeed together?
You know, I think a lot had to play into that, and I really want to highlight my core 3. You know, out of that, Marte, Nate, and Joe, because, you know, we coached Joe when he was in 8th grade. You know, I coached Marte when he was in 9th grade, coached Nate when he was in 9th grade. And so kind of having that relationship already built in with those guys, made it easier. I'm gonna be honest, because they knew what I was all about, and I knew what they were about.
Right.
And if you know anything about those three guys, is that they're leaders, and so getting a group to follow behind them is I would say it's easier.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't the hardest thing to do getting our guys locked in and bought in because of my core three. I'm going to highlight them a lot because when we implemented something or we had our team time, a lot of the time was those three guys even talking to as well. So getting our new guys to be able to fall in, it was easy because those guys are charismatic. They're going to make you feel welcome, So naturally, when you get your DJ Sandys and he can be a lead at defending and being who he is, you get your Isaac Buckley, where he can guard 1 through 5. He's able to switch ball screens, but he's excelling in his role. When you get your Maddox, right, he's able to excel in his role, right? But a lot of that happens is because of the leadership that was already formed, over time. And I'll say it's not like that everywhere, but that makes our program special.
Yeah.
When you look at it, when you have a group of players that are bought in, and the new guys, they can see, what the example is like.
Yep.
And they don't have to question it, right? All they have to do is say, hey, like, man, I see Marte leading by example. I see, Joe leading by example. I see Nate. Right, and then
if you wouldn't know, honestly, through the clips, you'd think DJ Sandy played for us for 8 years.
I can't say
he was just all. I mean, he bleeded Southeast Elite. And
can I just say this?
Yeah.
As far as a guard, defensively impacting the game, I don't think there's anybody better in the state of Florida. I'm just going to say that as a guard, right? Obviously, we had our 7-footer Sanan, and he's able to block shots. I put DJ on the best, some of the best guards, quote unquote, in the nation, and just how flustered they would get, and I didn't necessarily have to worry, hey, DJ, go take that guy. And then he would, yes, sir, and take that as his assignment, right? And not question it and do it to the highest level. So when you're looking for a champion and someone that's a winner, DJ's that guy. DJ's that guy.
Defense doesn't get mentioned too much, it's the highlights of the guys scoring this and that, but to go, everybody says, and parents and players at the youth level, it's like, well, this is my position, and parents want you to play their kid at that position, and it's well, this is what he's done in the past, and this is what we see for him, and then the reality is, who can he guard at the next level? That's something that we talk about all the time. You are who you can guard. I think that's something that I think just basketball people, terminology say in general. But if you cannot guard a Division I point guard on the other team, you may not be a Division I point guard.
So funny that you say that. Like, I was at the UCF-JU game a couple nights ago and was sitting down talking to Kent Jackson, who played with us, Chris Aries, that played with us, and was with Marlon Daniel, another important piece
Our
of the
GM.
program.
General manager.
Another important guy in the program. But, Marlon asked him and said, hey, now that you're playing Division I basketball, what if you can tell a high school kid or your high school self, so what's one thing that you need to be able to do at this level? Now that you've played and understand it. They both said it almost simultaneously. They said, oh, you got to be able to defend. They were like...
And that's coming from someone who can shoot the ball from half court.
And KJ said, straight up, he said, I wasn't playing a lot early on because I couldn't guard.
Right.
Where Chris was playing a lot because he can guard.
A little lane.
He's like, so he said, but now I'm playing more because I'm guarding better.
Right.
But he was like, if you want to play, you have to defend. If you can't defend, you won't play.
Right.
And, that's something I think we preach to our kids is you got to be able to defend, you got to limit turnovers, and then you got to be able to make the right play. If you can do those 3 things, you can get on the court, and then at that point, anything goes. But, defense isn't talked about enough. And DJ Sandy was a game changer. I don't think 16s win the championship without DJ. From the games I saw, I mean, because he brought something to the team that no one else filled that role.
Right.
And he said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And I think we preach that a lot to, I'm sure at the high school level to our players, even in the summer and spring, is there's roles on this team, man.
Right.
And there's minutes for these roles. And if you want this role, but we already have 3 people in that role,
right,
you don't have as many minutes for you. But if you want to do what DJ Sandy does, because that role we need guys on the floor that can do that, you're gonna find time on the floor, and then you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
There's a play vividly when I think about DJ Sandy. You know, I think about this play specifically. We're playing in the Final Four against Team Loda VA, 64-62. DJ's at the free throw line, mind you. Right? It's about 35 seconds left. Right? He goes ahead, he hits the first free throw. He shoots the second free throw. He misses it, but as it releases, he knows it's coming off. Mind you, there is nobody in the lanes on our team. DJ somehow gets his own rebound with 4 team loaded guys.
Yeah.
On, like, just ready to box out.
It's like,
we get the
who's
rebound.
even thinking of going to go get it?
We get the rebound. DJ gets the rebound. He passes it to Joe. Joe gets it. They foul him. We hit 2 free throws. We win the game.
Yeah.
That is a winning championship.
Not on no highlights.
No highlights, no nothing. That is a winner.
Yeah.
Winner.
Yeah.
You need more guys like that out there.
For sure.
And shout out to his dad, man. Obviously, Dad has taught him really well,
Yeah.
man. I always tell Dad that man. But
Yeah.
DJ is a crucial piece.
Well, we appreciate you, being in that position and holding it accountable and holding the standards so high and letting guys kind of just walk into it and be successful.
Appreciate the platform.
So
Can I ask one?
Go ahead.
You got a question specific? I got a question.
No, go for it.
Because off his list, I'm gonna throw. I'm the co-host that throws everything out of order, by the way. But we just kind of improvise and go. But so because I've done it, right?
Right.
Coaching at that level. You go out, you win a 16U championship at the highest, at one of the top circuits in the country, which is incredible. Not a lot of people could say they've won a circuit championship as a head coach. And then you get the job at Central Florida Christian Academy.
Yes.
You come to high school and coach.
Right.
The transition, the thought process, the mindset. How different is it?
Well, if you want to talk about mindset and process, coming off such
patience.
Coming off such a big high, you're like, man, I want to do that again. Like it's that feeling.
You're definitely not like, all right, set a back screen and throw a lob and dunk on here.
Yeah, right. Personnel's a little different.
Yeah.
But
size ain't as big.
Yeah, size isn't as big.
You, man.
But I will say, coming into it, knowing that this is my program.
Yeah.
And, just coming off a championship, keeping that same momentum, from my AAU team and into my high school program was something that I really wanted to just emphasize. I really wanted to build a culture of winning standards.
Yep.
The biggest thing for me throughout the summer wasn't about winning or losing throughout the summer. It was standard, right? It was doing the things that we are supposed to do, the non-negotiables, right? Our mantra is student, person, player. Shout out to Embry Riddle.
Great coaches steal everything, by the way, guys.
Shout out to Embry Riddle.
If you don't want to steal nothing from other great coaches, you're not going to be a great coach.
Right.
So implementing that, right, and really harping on keeping each other accountable, right? Because that's going to translate into, on the court stuff, right? If you don't show up on time to practice or workouts, how can we hold each other accountable on the court? So mindset was building championship habits, right? And the rest will take care of itself. So now that was a process in itself, right? If you ask some of my CFCA guys, we ran a lot of 22s, a lot of 22s, just a lot of things to kind of break you, right? But ultimately, was to be put in a position kind of where we're at right now, to put ourselves in a position to, play the end game in the long run. And it's not just this season, but ultimately, build something that will last. So going into it, to kind of answer your question, 2 different teams, but my passion and my drive has remained the same. My why has remained the same.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So nothing about me has changed.
No. So I asked you that because I always think it's fun because the personnel changes, the players change, the level of players change, and even in some instances, when I went, when I was at Cypress Creek coaching, I had to get to an understanding of where, during the summer, everybody on this team really has an opportunity to go to college.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they're here for. That's what they want. That's a different level. That's a certain level of commitment that they have. You come here, you have a core group of guys that are like that, and then you have some that, hey man, they just enjoy playing basketball and they want to be a part of the team.
And I think I had to, and I'm still trying to navigate that through that sometimes, because me, I'm 1,000% all in. Like, I'm crazy about this game.
But so I say that to say that, you know, because and again, these are just conversations I've had with people where they're like, you know, hey, you know, well, they're not your 3SSB guys, you know, and I'm like, I understand that, but does that mean I should change how I coach?
Not at all.
It's I think it's you know, two different approaches to it. It's by telling the guys, listen, you want to be an engineer after this. Like, you don't want to play college ball. You've played basketball your whole life. Even then, you don't want to use college ball as an avenue to get your degree. You just want to drop it after senior year and go do it. That's fine. I need you to have the same approach as the guy who is so desperate that they lay up at night staring at the ceiling, dreaming about playing in college, playing professionally, playing. Like, if you're not going to do it for you, that's okay, you know, but every second that you're in this locker room, on the court, on this team, one, we're doing it for what, first of all, if we're doing something, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, we're already here, so let's do it, right? But then be a catalyst for that guy. There's nothing wrong with being the guy watching someone on TV and telling your son or daughter, I played with them in high school. I used to guard him and give him hell. You know what I mean? It's like, and you know, that's funny stuff that you know, we do. You know, when we see our guys make it. But there is something to that. You know, and even those guys, any NBA player, you know, who's been interviewed about their high school team, their best friend or like favorite teammate is someone who did not play afterwards. You know, they were just able to be there and relate. And so I think you hold those guys accountable and let them understand what is at stake without actually having the same passion inside personally. And if it's like, listen, if you can't do that, you can't be a part of this. Like, there are so many other schools to go to, and maybe they have someone who will just let you play, not care, and we don't know those people.
And I think that goes back to what you brought up, which I use that word a lot too, man, is standards, man. And not rules, these are standards. You know, rules are meant to be broken. Standards are the standards, you know, and nothing's above the standards. And I think we do a really good job of that. Obviously, it translates to our high schools, but I think that's part of what we do a really good job of here. Is nobody's above the program. You know, so.
Well, that actually, it's not so much of a side, you know, conversation, because smoothly transition into our next topic. Right? So this is one of the first things I wanted to talk about, because I think it's the absolute number one thing that drives me nuts is listening to high school coaches talk badly about AAU coaches and listening to AAU coaches talk badly about high school coaches.
And some of it is fair, though.
Some of it's fair, for sure. I mean, a lot of it's warranted, you know?
Because it depends on who you're talking about.
Right. You know, but I think of the beauty of our organization and you know, kind of who we seek out to coach our teams, you know, whichever level or age group it is we have both. You know, I coached high school 10 years, more, you know, varsity, JV, you know, done it all, right? You guys have done it all. When you're out on the road, there is an accountability that we have to our schools. Like, I'm not going to go act the fool in a game, go, you know, on some clip, and now my principal is like,
questioning,
yo, what's going on? What did you just do this weekend? You know, like, we can't have that. So having that accountability, I think, really helps. And then just the approach, you know, like, a lot of high school coaches want to be college coaches, you know, and have those aspirations. So they're going to run their program that way. When that coach transitions into AAU, there's not much of a change in their approach. Like you're saying, it's just, you know, a higher level. And now you can kind of just do more complicated offensive sets and just a little more teaching, maybe more intensity, you know, things like that. But there is a way for these things to work hand in hand, you know?
So I think it starts really with the coach, right? Like, I think the coach is key. And you can see differences in the coach, the level of commitment, right? And, you know, how many coaches are out there doing 6 a.m. workouts every day during off season, right? Only a handful of us, probably. But that's because we're committed to it. And I think, I use this saying a lot now with players, but I think, it's probably because of how we carry ourselves as coaches too. But I call it just being a pro, man. Yeah. Like, maybe, I'm not a professional basketball coach. I'm not out here making $5 million a year coaching basketball. If I was, we would be in here for 3 hours talking because we would be here the whole day, and he'd be like, "Oh, no problem, man. Stay as long as you want, man." Stay. But it's still the approach of understanding that I've committed to it. Yeah. So I'm gonna be a pro at it, and I'm gonna do everything I can to do my best and try to be as great as I can at it. Same thing we ask for our players. We were talking about kids maybe not a college level player, or maybe they don't even have aspirations, but maybe they have aspirations and we're looking at them like, hey man, that's probably not your future. But if you're gonna be here, you're committed, be a pro. Just be on time, do the things we ask of you, learn, get better. And I think if you do that as coaches, most coaches could recognize a good coach. Right. So, and whether you're just a high school coach or you're just an AAU coach, there's a lot of AAU coaches out there, unfortunately, that they're just out there doing nothing. Yeah. You're not developing, you're not teaching, you're just trying to win games, you're just trying to...
And this isn't to say anything about the coaches that don't coach high school basketball or working some other jobs, because... Man, shout out to the coaches who get off of their job at 6:30 button up with their tie, changing into their gym gear to do practice, and they balance both their professional career and then the travel ball, and they do it incredibly. You know what I mean?
But that's any industry, right? Like not just AAU coaches, not just high school coaches. I mean, we could just talk about any industry in general, right? You can go to a Walmart and have a guy that's there that greets you and is just like a professional in his job. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, good to see you. Hey, have a good time. If you need anything, come and help. Or you have a guy there that's just like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. You're just trying to get through it, So it's not just.
Are you a greeter? What are you? Because I haven't seen you say hello to 8 people that walk in front of me.
Now you want to look at my receipt, man. You didn't even say hi when I walked in. No, but like,
is this TSA?
You get what I'm saying? Like it's just different. It's just how you approach it, and I think it's unfortunate that AAU sometimes gets a bad rap, and then in return, some high school coaches get a bad rap. Right. And the truth be told, I respect all of them because we're all dedicating a lot of our own personal time and sacrificing a lot of our own family time to help other kids, and that's needed regardless if you're good, you're not, or whatever you're doing. You're still there. So that alone, I think should be commended, as opposed to, I hate AAU because they're not teaching my daughter. I hate
stupid comments. We can go down the line. Yeah. AAU is ruining basketball. Overseas has it so much more figured out than the United States with travel ball. Yet we've won the U17, U18, U19, U20, U21, whatever it is. So it's like, at what level is that actually happening? Which there's a lot to what's going on overseas in their development. But it's like
they've gotten better.
You cannot discount the putting a piece of coal under pressure and it becoming a diamond. When you have overseas academies involved, like yes, they have someone selected when they're young, they bring them on, they develop them, they learn how to play. Right? Yes, we may play too many games, right? I think Adidas has figured out a nice schedule for guys to get their rest and to play competitively, right? But all of the negatives of this is actually hurting the game. When you see the guys from the league, one thing I do want to do with this podcast, I don't want to name drop like NBA guys or college or certain players that aren't even ours, because again, I don't want to get into like the hot take stuff. I want to talk about our kids and our program and our coaches and stuff like that. But when guys are coming out of certain areas, I love saying this about our program, where we have demographics of all types, right? It's not, just a hoop dream story anymore. It could be two parent family homes, upper middle class, lower, super rich, not that rich, right? Anything in between. It's like we're all chasing the same thing. we're chasing the opportunity and the ability to play a sport we love, right? To get an education, to make a living and things like that. And so when there are so many of those guys in one area trying to get that, and they're not just playing each other during us, it's on the corner, it's at the LA Fitness, it's at this and that. So, and then it's AAU. It's like, we see the results, you know, so the misconception of travel ball is hurting basketball, it's a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast, why we want to do this is because you guys are seeing, and granted, it's the viral clips of mostly people not doing it correctly. We think we're doing it correctly, right?
Yeah.
Outside, that's our opinion.
Right. I mean, here's my thought, right? First of all, right, travel ball or AAU, whatever you want to call it, right? Because it's necessary, because the difference between the United States format and the European or the format is the European, they're in a club year round, the same club, right? High school don't go year round. So what happens when the high school season's done? Do we just let the kids not play travel and they sit around and not do nothing? So now you have to, there's a void to fill. Now, will it ever get to a point where maybe, you know, I don't know. I can almost foresee this in the future, because it's just with the way the industry is going and NIL and the money now that's, you know, involved trickling down. But like, you know, will we ever get to a point where maybe the professional teams have their own youth clubs here and it becomes year round, right?
Yeah.
I can see that. So you know, so now then it becomes a year round thing where you develop and stuff like that. So, excuse me, I do think we do a good job, because I think we do prioritize development. You know, if you come to our training camps or our tryouts, you know,
it's the best of both worlds situation.
You come in, hey man, listen, this isn't just, we're not just gonna throw you out there, go play 5-on-5 and let's figure out who's good. You know, we're gonna put you through stations. You're gonna go, we're gonna do all the basic stuff.
Reverse pivoting.
I'm gonna see if your footwork's good. I'm gonna see if you can dribble right and left.
No one wants to practice that until they're stuck on the baseline with both feet.
And then they travel because they haven't practiced it, right?
Right.
But no, I mean, like, you know, but focusing on the fundamentals of basketball, like, you know, I think that's something that is lacked, you know, because again, you know, and it people are mad at trainers. You know, they're training, they train too much. They do this.
It's best of both worlds converging, and this is what I have said comparing to other sports, right? The reason why it is difficult for Americans to succeed in soccer and baseball is because if you do not have the money to put your child in those sports, they're not playing, right? So now let's talk about the people who are playing, right? Which, you know, MLB players, moved to Oviedo, right? A lot of MLB players come out of Oviedo. I talk about Oviedo as a bubble all the time, and the production they have from their leagues and their travel and youth coaches. So they figured it out, right? But as a country, if you don't have that funding, you don't play. So you do play. You win a state championship for your high school. You get a scholarship to a Division I Power 5 school. Now it's MLB draft night, and guess who gets drafted? A 17-year-old Hispanic kid who's twice as good as you, who's been playing with bottle caps and a broomstick, can just hit them back to back to back. Soccer, all countries around, they're playing barefoot, sand, dirt, rocks, whatever it is. And then you get those guys and you put cleats on them and you give them the training and you give them, and so for that reason is what I think why other countries around the world are going to have a very tough time ever catching up to us, is because that outside court, not so much now, but in the gym, the AAU, the dog eat dog exists. And then the academies get a hold of them and this and that. But you still have these guys fighting. You know what I mean? And so one of them's going to break through and make it. And you can't say that for other sports right now, unfortunately.
I think the and I say this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because we all competitors, we all want to win. And I think that's that is key to being great as an athlete, in whatever sport you are, right? Or even as a coach, that is key. Because you have to have that competitiveness and that competitive edge where you like, man, I want to do anything it takes for us to win. But I think that the emphasis on winning over development is something that has to be better.
Oh, for
right?
sure. When you're playing a 2-3 zone in the 4th grade.
Listen,
what do we teach?
I was at
like,
a 4th and 5th grade youth Catholic school youth game, right? One team was down 12-2. Coach calls timeout. 4th and 5th grade, it's already hard for them to score, right? They're probably barely ever going to make the basket, right?
It's over. They won.
So
They're
the coach went and said, "All right, I'm going to put the guy that can make the basket. I'm going to cherry pick him. We're going to play 5-on-4 on one end."
Love it. Love it.
And because you can defend 5 guys with 4 in a 4th and 5th grade game because they're probably going to miss anyway. He would get the miss, and he would just full court throw it down the court, boom. And now all of a sudden they coming back. That team ends up winning the game. Parents go crazy. Oh my God, that was a great game. Good job. And all I could think to myself, I'm cringing like, what are we teaching these kids? Because the emphasis, especially at the youth level, right? I get once you get to college, you got to win.
Right.
Job's on the line, right? And once you get to the pro, hey, man, you got to win, right? I get all of that. But at the youth level, the emphasis has to be on development and the win. And I think we do a really good job of it. I mean, because we talk about it all the time, man. Like, to win a Adidas Circuit Championship, hey, that's just a bonus.
Right.
The truth is, them kids all got better.
Right.
You know, from when, you know, it's like our 17U this year. We weren't very good in the spring. When we came back in the summer, complete different team.
Right.
And some of those kids, I'm like, man, they got better. And ultimately, a kid like Matt Abel is where he's at now,
right,
because he got better. And that's more of a win. Yeah. That's more important to me or us personally than let's win this game today.
Right.
Yeah.
Because long term, this is going to benefit you. And I think that's in the turn, that is what's going to get you the positive feedback and, hey, man, they do a really good job over there, you know, as opposed to, hey, you was ruining basketball.
Right.
High school's ruining basketball. Trainers are ruining basketball.
I mean, listen, we're you know, guys who've taken high school basketball.
And stop deflecting brain, man.
Yeah.
You know, I always say, hey, man, it's all, look, I was a parent once. I sat in the stands like, hey, man, I think I could do better than him. And what I do, I got on the sideline.
Right.
So if you think you could do a better job, get on the sideline.
Get on it.
Get in this heat.
I was thinking about that too. Like,
because we need good coaches. You need more good coaches.
You know, guys that have taken this kind of as their identity. You know, there are the high school coaches that they wanted to be teachers. They wanted to teach AP history, and they've been doing that 10 years, and they've been coaching 10 years. And when practice is over, it's over.
Done.
Right.
Yeah.
And when the game's there, there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I know so many good coaches that you almost want, like, I mean, I just ask them all the time, really, like, hey, come on, like, let's get you with one of our teams. Let's get in. And they're like, man, I got my kid at home. Like, I don't know if my wife would really, but really, they're, you know, we all do that. We pull the wife card when we don't want to do something.
So let me add one thing. So there's absolutely nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
I think a lot of people look at that like, oh, he doesn't want to commit.
He's not taking it serious.
Right. And that's fine. Now, in this day and age, with transfers and all the stuff that's going on, a lot of times those parents will move the kid to the coach that will be in the gym 12 hours a day. And then that coach, now when it becomes wrong is if that coach bashes this coach for that. Because now it's like, but wait, you want to be a history teacher and you just want to coach on the side. He wants to coach.
Right.
He don't even want to be in the classroom.
Yeah.
I want to be in the gym.
And the kid wants to get to and the kid wants to get to where he wants to get to, and it takes a coach like that. So that's why it's all. I'm always laughing because I'm like, you can't have both. You can't be the guy that's like, how about you guys are always taking kids? The kids are going here because but then you're not in the gym at 6 a.m. to 10 at night. You know. A lot of people can't do that. I get it, you know, but so again, nothing wrong with either side, but then you just have to understand.
Man, I'd be in dropout prevention talking to this kid about not dropping out. And I'm like, I got 5 more minutes of convincing you to stay, and then you do what you're going to do because I'm gone. You know? Like, nah, we love it. You know, we take those kids. But so I have a question for you, AB. What do you think high school coaches and AAU coaches in communities, let's talk solutions. Like, what can they do to provide the best service for their area?
That's a really good question. I think as AU coaches and high school coaches, I'm not sure where it's like everywhere, but I think communication, number one, needs to be better. Just as far as getting to know, for example, if we're coaching your kid who goes to your high school, there needs to be a better line of communication about, hey, this kid, he's here right now. By the end of the summer, I would love for him to, get better at this or that, or specifically just being more specific. And honestly, I think at times between AU coaches and high school coaches, there's that, hate to say it, but ego sometimes gets in the way from, benefiting the kid,
Because one's put the team in the spring league or fall league, and then
exactly.
An AAU team's trying to have their workouts around the same time, and then it's like this.
Now, that gets really conflicting, especially when, certain events are overlapping, and I've even seen it where I had a kid, he's playing AAU for whatever reason during high school season, right? So now there's a conflict between, and this kid doesn't understand, he doesn't understand that if you're playing during high school season, it's not competitive.
Yeah. Who are you playing?
Right.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I can see that, being an issue. If AAU has, a tournament, but, the high school coach is trying to get in the gym with skill development, I could see that, ultimately being an issue if there's no communication. So, me being an AAU coach and a high school coach, I understand both sides, but ultimately, when it's all about the kid and helping that kid get better, and ultimately it works.
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, when you have that mindset, there shouldn't be any gray area in my mind. It should all be about the kid, all be about the youth, and helping them grow, helping them develop. So
it's a selfless job what we do, man. So it's like I mean, that's like the perfect answer. It's about the kid, So there's I think there's a understanding of what, and of course I understand it better now than when, my son was first in 8th grade playing, 9th grade playing too, because it was like, oh man, there's AAU tournament, AAU, it's AAU. No, there's AAU and then there's AAU. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you understand the calendar, and I think again, expectations between the high school coach and the AAU coach, having an understanding of where the kid's development needs to go. And it's got to be in line too. So, again, this AAU program is different than this AAU program, was different than this AAU program. This high school is different than this high school. This high school. You can't play at this high school and then go play at this AAU program when they're
night
and day.
Not to open up another thing, but like a topic that we hear now is like the oversaturation of travel teams that exist. People saying, you see the comment, man, back when I played AAU, you had to be good to play AAU. Now everybody plays AAU. And it's like, but back then, how many kids could have sharpened iron at their level?
Right.
And they're just not playing.
Right.
Or they're playing a local situation. And then, for that kid to make the jump to a quote unquote travel ball team that's, competitive, that's such a leap. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yes, we could say it's oversaturated and the whole event coordinator is trying to get all these things. And you could say, oh, that's a money grab. That's a scam. That's this and that, whatever. But it really is about like what you're getting out of it and what you need.
There's only that many teams.
You need to play. You need to be on the court. Yeah.
Well, there's only that many teams because there's that many kids.
That's something I've always said. It's like,
so it's just there's just going to be different levels. So there's AAU and then there's AAU, right? But the schedule, so it doesn't conflict with the coaches, is there's an understanding of the AAU schedule. I think for the most part, right? It's April, May, July. All right, and June is high school basketball. Hey man, I know we led up the kids. Hey, we're done at the end of May. You go back high school. Now once we hit July, your high school coach should know. You're coming with us.
And like you're saying, that's the communication piece.
I will say another thing to add to that is, a high school coach, he spends how many months throughout the year, with that player. Getting that player
12
depends on the coach. Some 2 hours. A really good high school coach, right, is going to invest in that kid, getting him to play the right way, right, getting him to defend, right. I'm not saying, but some AU programs, right, that kind of just let that kid do whatever he wants ultimately can end up hurting, that kid in the long run. That coach, he's
and vice versa.
And vice versa, yeah.
An AAU program does a really good job.
Really good job.
Fundamentals, and then you go back and you do whatever you want. Yeah,
right, exactly. So I can see that too as well.
Yeah,
that's important.
No, that's something important for us. Like, we like to see people win. I've always talked about when someone is doing well with another program and they're eating. It's like, I don't think any of us have it in us to reach out and be like, hey, man, I see you killing with them. Come play with us. It's like,
not at all.
At the risk of what? Him playing with us, it going left, not fitting it, not really figuring it out. And then what? Yep. We just damaged someone's trajectory that they were steadily just going on. And we see that, go do that. Where we see there's a sleeper, we could pull them in, or the nature of the beast, someone enters the free agency market and they're looking for somewhere to, they're
no, but back to where we say it's about the kid.
Right.
I know plenty of kids that, I've talked to or try to get to come play with us that they end up choosing somewhere else. And I'll tell them, hey, man, no problem. Hey, man, I support you, man. I'm a fan of him.
1,000%.
Hey, if it doesn't work out, let me know.
1,000%.
Well, I'm a fan of him regardless.
Yeah.
It doesn't change how I feel about the kid. Mm-hmm. Like, the kid doesn't all of a sudden go from, oh, I really like him. Oh, he's terrible now because he went to go play with
I'm
them.
not going to say what's up to him. I'm not.
He's still the same player that I wanted. So,
one thing about that is, and I don't know if young guys feel a way about this, and maybe this will help understand. It's like, when you're with us and you're with this machine, that's who we're working for. Mm-hmm. That's who we're marketing in a sense, and that's who we're pushing. And that's a very narrow lane to be in. You're with us and we do that. So like you're saying, they choose somewhere else. We're cool. We say what's up. We say hi. A lot of it is personal. Like, we know the family.
And we still like you.
Yeah. By you choosing another place,
the
right?
machine's just not behind.
By choosing another place, you were saying you do not want us to do that for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I respect.
No hard feelings.
No hard feelings, but if you don't see me, reposting, talking you up, doing this and that, it's because you asked us not to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think some guys feel a certain way, like, oh man, I left and they're not on me. They switched up and this and this. Like, no, this is whoever is under that banner.
Like, you went to go work for McDonald's and you're not at Chick-fil-A no more.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be the Chick-fil-A employee.
Still love you at McDonald's.
Still got love for you.
I mean,
it's just business.
Still got love for you.
But that's also part of, I think that's also part of the teaching. Like, I think one thing I do try to focus on a lot with the kids that, at the high school or even at AAU, I teach a lot of stuff outside of basketball. Because basketball has a lot to do with what happens outside of basketball.
Course,
So
why we do it.
It's teaching them to understand that, hey man, like, your choices and your decisions lead you down a certain path, and you get, and they have consequences. They could be good, they could be bad, they could be neutral. Maybe they're not even bad consequences, but if you choose this, then hey man, then you got to live with what you chose. It's the same thing we tell parents. Yeah, we want you, but ultimately, you have to make the best decision for you and your family.
Yeah.
We think this is it.
Right.
If you choose us, this is what we'll do for you. Mm-hmm. But if you choose someone else, hey, man, we wish you luck.
Yeah.
You made the choice. At the end of the day, you have to make the choice.
Right.
We can't make the choice for you. Because if we do that, now if it doesn't work out,
and also like pressuring, there's guys that you recruit hard, but then there gets to a line, I think, where you can kind of tell they're leaning, in doing something else, and then continuing to push. Let's say you push so hard that they kind of didn't want to, but you really, really just got them, to come over. God forbid, there's a minor bad experience
that something goes wrong
of any portion, that only gets magnified. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important to, like you're saying, allow people to make that decision, because then whatever happens is like, well, we were all in accordance with this, and we didn't trick you. No one's look at the guys who are succeeding and have gotten opportunities through this same machine, same situation. There's a lot more understanding, but if you kind of back someone into a corner and you're like, or promising things, you promise early, like, hey, this is what they're going to have. This is what they're going to play. They're going to average this, whatever. that doesn't come, and then you basically lied to him, you know, and that's just bad business. As Marlon Daniels, he said that's bad business. Bad business, man. You know, you can't. We don't operate like that, and so, you know, I think we're coming up on time here. Any last thoughts?
I just want to say, because I don't say this enough, but I just appreciate, you know, our platform. You know, I appreciate our program. You know, I joined 7 years ago, and Coach Ricks, he gave me the first opportunity to coach one of the B group teams.
Yeah.
And so
He did the same for me.
Yeah. So when people
and we say B group, but then you go out there and
we're
beat
good.
everybody.
We weren't a B group. We were good. But you know, over the years, you know, we get to forge these relationships, you know, and these guys become family. You know, so from the bottom of my heart, you know, I appreciate the organization, what it's done for me. You know, how it's helped me out, but also just the relationships I have with my kids, you know, from the coaches. It's honestly one big family, and I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. You know, honestly,
we appreciate
man. So
you,
I love you
man.
guys.
Yeah,
love you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm the rookie out of us three, by the way. But yeah, no, I 100% agree,
Brothers.
man. Yeah, man.
I showed up one day and we beat a number 1 team in the country, and then it was like, I guess I got to come back tomorrow. And it was 10 years, 11 years later now, and you know, I love this. You know, I love, you know, we were talking in the car on the way over here, like connecting the dots. Yeah. You know, I've seen college coaches. Shout out Kirk Spearaw, just entered the UCF Hall of Fame. Right, got to grow up in his house a little bit with you know, my brother Dustin Spearaw, and you know, big ups to guys who can do that at that level for that amount of time. I realized early, just, you know, my own background and what I wanted for my family and what my life to look like. I just said, you know, I don't think that's something. Yeah. I know I want to as a competitor and basketball coach and this and that, but you know, to find this and to build this and it snowball and everybody we have pouring into it, to then see guys get head varsity coaching jobs, you know. Get the light that they never asked for and deserve. You know what I mean? I think that's something really, really cool to see, and I could do this for a long time. You know?
No, I mean, like for me, listen, I'm the rookie here. I've been here. I think I'm going on my 5th year with the organization. I always tell people, you know, hey, there's Anthony Ricks is the guy that gave me a chance to coach basketball. It's 2 things I'm passionate about in my life: music and basketball. I got a chance to do music back in the day. I'm sure he'll throw me on the bus one day and we'll talk about that.
We're going to get
in the
into
background,
it.
you know what I'm saying? And
we're going to have a mic here. I'm bringing in Big Tigger. We're doing freestyle.
We're doing the basement.
We're doing the basement.
Yeah. All right. I got to be prepared. Just give me a few days, man. Give me a couple days in advance.
Off the top.
But you know, to be able to do my second passion, which is basketball, and be around an amazing organization, you know, and do it the right way. Like, you know, that's important. I mean, I can coach. I've coached AAU with, you know, just been around other organizations with my son growing up, you know, playing, and I've always had a respect level of how the, you know, Southeast Elite or CB25 at the time operated, you know, between the marketing, the branding, just the business aspect of it. You know, I always enjoyed how it looked from the outside looking in. And then when I had the opportunity to come in first, hey, I don't mind helping out. You know, hey, I'm going to have you coach one of these B teams.
And you get wrapped up quick.
It's like, I got the hey, what the coach that was supposed to coach the group can't be here no more. You know, I need you to put your head coaching hat on. He was never
coming.
No, I know. There was no coach.
There was no coach.
I told Marlon, I said, you know, now that I'm on this side, man, like, I know the tricks, bro.
You should have said, what's his name?
Roped me in, but hey, man, I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything more, man. I mean, I did Javon and Ja's group.
Yeah,
that my first year here.
Great
group to start off with.
Ja and Z at Mercer.
Come on now.
Yeah. No, it was like 8 kids went to come. Like, man, this is a B team, man. Now the A team was pretty good, but you know, I did that group, and it was 16U first year, and then the next year we did 15s on 3SSB together, and it's been just, you know, going ever since. And next thing you know, I'm at high school coaching. I get a head job. I'm like, man, this is
national now.
Yeah, it's insane, man. So, you know, thank you, man. Like, you know, I always Anthony Ricks, man. He's one of the first ones that gave me an opportunity. You know, there's like 3 guys that I always thank when it comes to coaching, and is definitely one of them. But to give me the platform and to go out there and see what AAU
Right,
is
right.
and understand the different levels and just coach against good talent. You know, sitting with him on the bench this year on 17s, you know, was awesome. You know, you're sitting there watching coaching against Darren Peterson, and then you go at Pete, Elijah Arenas, and you're like, Jesus, these dudes is really good.
Yeah, that's the future. You know?
What is the scheme? There is not one. It's just I hope he shoots a lot to
about-
score that much.
I talk about moving, you know, to Florida from Jersey in 2000, and that's, you know, prime T-Mac. Like Chase McGrady. It's my first NBA game, a Magic
shout out
game.
T-Mac, my brother. Man.
One-time legends, and you know, to see him and then be on this court. He's coaching against David West on that court. You play him at 4:30, and you're like, now you like that's not T-Mac anymore. That's the dude I'm gonna go try to beat. You know, and it's
you know, it's crazy. You know, T-Mac played here in Orlando when I did music. We were really tight. Like, we used to hang out all the time. I see him out there at the Adidas store. I'm like, Mac, what's up, man? He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm coaching. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, you coaching too, huh? All right, man. And then one of the 15U games, one of the 15U games, the first session we played his team and we beat him. And I was like, he was like, oh, you just beat us. I was like, yeah, man. He was like, okay.
It's really,
but you know, like
dream,
every summer
you know?
get to run into him and say what's up, man. Nah, I mean, listen, man. Hopefully the podcast, you know, I know John and I have been talking about it, you know, definitely been something that he's been wanting to do. I love podcasts and interviews and stuff just because of my music background. And, you know, we have a lot of guys in our program, players, coaches that could share tremendous knowledge. Hopefully the podcast gives y'all some of that knowledge. But it also shines a light on a lot of, you know, the commitment that goes into running an organization like this. And the selfless acts and just the sacrifices that the people to run an organization at this level, you know, because I know a lot of people think, oh, they're Adidas sponsor. Oh, they got all this money. I like I told you, man, I'm still not a full-time professional basketball coach. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's coming though.
It's coming. It's coming.
This ain't wood. I just messed it up because I knocked on glass and not wood. But no, I mean, just, you know, I hopefully it shines light on that because I think that doesn't get talked about enough. As much as people criticize coaches, how they call high school this, AAU this, that, I think what doesn't get talked about enough, and I talk to parents a lot about this whenever they complain about, you know, at the high school, hey, JV coach this, that. I said, well, hey, man, listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, you know, we're spending our own time with your kids trying to teach them something. Whether that's basketball, whether that's life, whether that's just values, whether that's just how to be a good human being, how to grow up and become a fine young man in the future. We're spending a lot of time with your kids. And before you complain about the basketball or he's not playing or this coaching, you should at least say thank you. Because you have strangers that have dedicated their time and their lives and have sacrificed their own family time. Part of the reason probably you want to coach college basketball because you know there's no family time, right?
I do not.
So it's just I
will keep sending kids to you guys. Call me
because it takes a lot of sacrifice of your own family time to spend time with your kid and help him. And I think, you know, hopefully that's part of, you know, I would like to all the coaches out there. I don't care what level you coach at, man. Thank you, you know, because now. Can we get better at developing kids? That's a whole different topic. But, you know, but just the fact that you guys are spending time and again, like I say, if there's somebody out there that's not coaching and you think that someone else ain't doing a good enough job and you can do better, hey man, the world needs more good coaches. So come here, volunteer.
Get your hands dirty.
Hey, there's a QR code on our on our Southeast Elite page.
I think
come on over there and try it out.
We always think about the mountaintop, right? The precipice and how to get guys there and the adjectives that come with that, right? Like alpha, right? What other words? You know, dog. You know, all those, right? I think especially in today's day and age when you're talking about you know, mental health and just a lot of topics that have touched sports and this and that, not enough gets talked about the base that you have to create for an individual, not just a player, for a young man or young lady. You know, a quality that people really don't discuss a lot about is being a survivor. An actual dog, an actual alpha, an actual person like this, you know, and a movie that makes me think of it just because I was watching it in theaters, not at my house. Gladiator 2 just came out.
Yeah,
right?
He's definitely got the streaming link. Send me that link.
Thank you AMC. Thank you AMC for my ticket that I paid for and sat in the theater and watched.
And they didn't sponsor us.
They didn't sponsor.
AMC, we can use the sponsor. Send some more tickets
right now. So you think about Gladiator 1, and for anyone who's seen that masterpiece, obviously there's a guy, Russell Crowe, who's had everything ripped from him. Starts basically on the bottom of society, fights his way out and climbs his way out. And anyone who sees him is like, oh, that's that guy. And no matter where he is in his life, it's like a force that is going to get to the next step, and no one has any doubt about that. Mm-hmm. You have to teach and equip young people to be that way. Resilience is not enough. That word resilience, it's not enough. It's actually being a survivor. When you're by yourself, when there is no one to turn to, and we can all call each other, and we all have our villages, and we all do that, but there comes a point in every individual's life where it is them and having to get through that next step. So yes, we can all put on the facade that I'm a dog and we're all this and that or whatever, but it's like, have you ever been at the bottom? I don't know if you have, but I know for sure that if you ever get there, you and I both know you're going to get yourself out. Yeah. And then if you get yourself out, you can start your baby steps to being on that mountaintop. But we all talk about the mountaintop, and we don't talk about the people who roll down the hill and can't get back up. Yeah. Instead of working opposite, pushing, putting this expectation, putting this is what you should be. When they don't feel they've reached that, they fall into a depression. They fall into a I failed, right?
And that's why I say we need more good people and good coaches, because coaches wear plenty of hats. Not just psychologist is one of them. Teacher, leader, mentor, coach, friend. Like, we wear all of these hats. And again, like that's why I say it, that whoever's actually doing it, hey man, kudos to y'all. Yeah. I know you guys dedicate a lot of time. I know you deal with a lot, like especially the way, the way the landscape of basketball and the people that are around the kids, and I don't want to use the P word, but right. That's really the black, but it's like, it goes back to an understanding between parents, coaches, player. Yeah. What are we doing for this kid? The kid is what means the most to us. It doesn't. My ego, I could put my ego aside all day for the kid. I have no ego when it comes to that.
I wanted to close with this, and this is the word that we use in our program, and I like to think we're not over the top, but we're a faith-based program. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what that faith is for our players and for each of our individual coaches. We're not going to push one thing. We have international players from all over the world in this organization. It wasn't like this, a decade ago, and it is that way now. And so, being conscious of what everyone's belief systems are, but implementing that we're doing this for a bigger purpose. We hold our beliefs. If guys want to have conversations with us, we'll have discussions. We try to separate things. Don't want to have a whole Bible study. In the hotel room, and you've got 3 guys who are not a part of that religion. So things get sticky like that. But I think our foundation is we do have strong beliefs, and this is a tool. It's a resource to impact and to improve. Anything that we touch and that we're around. And, I think as long as people say, like, keep the main thing, and that being number one, it's kind of hard to go left. You know what I mean? People get us outside of our zone.
Right thing, man. That's it, man.
It's hard, because people really will, especially when it's so competitive at these levels and there's so, things are high stakes. Yeah. It's easy to get outside yourself and be in a game and maybe... the referee called not just one bad call, right? Right, a few. They don't make this one. Just reminding why you do this and who's on your shirt, and to Austin Rivers and the way he carries himself, and everyone being conscious of what we do, and we think he does a great job, and our coaches and players and parents do a great job, and so.
Well, AB, man, appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir,
appreciate
dude.
you guys,
making
man.
the trip down
sir.
I-4.
Family.
I made the trip too.
Yeah.
Appreciate myself too. John made the trip and he lives here. But now I gotta go back. It's
Dude,
weird.
We picked the one weekend. I'm in Bradenton, and now I'm in Orlando for the holidays, and now I drive here and go back, dude.
John, we appreciate you for making the trip
Yes,
as well.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah.
First episode or
First episode.
teaser episode,
Proof
whatever you
of
want to call it,
concept.
man. Appreciate y'all again, sponsors. AMC. It sounds like AMC is gonna throw some sponsorship from what you're
I mean,
telling
at
me.
this point,
Okay.
it's either a sponsorship or I'm getting a letter from
I haven't seen,
someone.
I haven't seen Gladiator 2 AMC, so
It's good.
shoot me a ticket.
I'm halfway
I'm
through.
going to watch
It's
it.
pretty good. I like it. I'm halfway.
Okay.
No, I appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah. So thank you guys for being here with us. The first ever Southeast Elite podcast episode, Proof of Concept. We hope it was informative. Please tell us things you'd like us to discuss or just questions that you have. These are questions we answer all the time anyway, from coaches or parents that are trying to understand AAU coaches of, levels that may not be on the shoe. There's not many shoe sponsorships going out there. So we're blessed and very grateful to be in this position to answer those questions and share with you guys. Sponsors, there's product placement. There's, your logo for intros, outros, segments. We'll have 60-second rapid fire stuff. Yep. It'll get a lot more interactive. Love the Pat McAfee show. Right, watched that at noon this past week. They had the NCAA president on there asking tough questions about the future of NIL, the future of college sports, things that I'm watching.
Pat McAfee is going to have to send some sponsorship money for that advertisement right there.
The hashtag section of this post is going to be this big, dude. But watching him and being a guy I relate to because he's in it, and then it's almost something his career, like, he never wanted it.
Yeah.
And that's something we talked about in the car. Like, the best people equipped to do something are the people doing it who didn't want a lot of the attention for it. And so, watching that and seeing how creative they are with it and just how informative really they are, is something inspiring. And, we'd like to do that at this level and for our sport and our field. So, reach out. And we're here, going to produce a lot more and hopefully, it's something that you guys enjoy. So thank you, everybody.
Like, comment, share. Is that what you say? Is that what we say?
Like, comment,
That's
share.
what my daughter be watching YouTube. Subscribe.
I don't even know
Subscribe
if
below.
it's-
Subscribe right here.
everything.
Right here? Is it right here or right here? Subscribe.
It's up here.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
So we got Coach Rob Campman.
Yeah.
Want to rep your school?
Southern Coast Academy, head coach, high school national team over there, and of course, proud coach and just director here at Southeast Elite, man. Love
We
it.
got Coach AB.
Yes, sir. Central Florida Christian Academy Eagles.
Yes.
Okay. Orlando, Florida.
We played each other, by the way. That's another episode.
I don't want to talk about that game right now. We should have won.
At the end, right?
We should have won. That's another day.
Jonathan Castaneda. I'm just here, So thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. We hope you had fun. And just engage, and we'll engage right back. All right. Thank you, guys.